Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl needed to die for the betterment of Pokemon kind. I fucking hope so. 28 years! That's how long Pokemon has been a franchise for. And ever since its debut, GameFreak has done very little to change the Pokemon formula. Beat up 8 gym leaders, destroyed the depressing villain organization, and wiped the floor with the Elite Four. Every single Pokemon game follows this formula without question. And then on a miraculous winter night, Pokemon decided to change everything with the games called Pokemon Sun and Moon. Highly regarded as one of the worst Pokemon games ever released by a bunch of gremlins on Twitter, Sun and Moon does not take place on a giant plot of land, but rather a series of islands, each with their own environments, culture, and Pokemon. Sun and Moon decided to slightly break away from the Pokemon formula by removing gyms with a new type of boss battle called Trials, where the player would fight off against an overpowered Pokemon who, right before you battled them, swallowed a bag of roids and called its homie to jump you because Game Freak thought it would be funny to beat the shit out of us when we just started the game. The game also took a different approach to their storytelling and added a ton of cutscenes to create a heavier focus on its narrative to improve the single player experience. Most Pokemon games before Sun and Moon did not add any cutscenes until the latter half of the game, where we would face off against the world-ending threat. Like that one time a bunch of junkies thought it was a great idea to delete the ocean. Come on, man, my sushi lives there. Pokemon Sun and Moon marked the beginning of the end of Pokemon. That's a weird statement because Pokemon Sun and Moon came out 8 years ago and Pokemon has been going stronger ever since. Every game they have released on the Switch has had more sales than their 3DS, DS, and even Game Boy counterparts. So what the hell do I mean by this is the beginning of the end? Is it because modern day Pokemon games suck? Is it because Pokemon is dying? Is it because I haven't seen an oiled up Cynthia play beach volleyball with Bertha? The truth is, Game Freak is trying to get freakier than me when it comes to their modern Pokemon games because they're trying to implement new and interesting ideas within their games. If you don't believe me, just look at every game that has been released on the Switch. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee decided to travel back to Kanto after 10 years and add a new catching mechanic. Sword and Shield added a DLC and a large plot of land to explore. Pokemon Legends Arceus sent us back in time, created a whole new catching and battling system, and recreated Sinnoh in a historical way. Game Freak is finally changing up what is a Pokemon game with new and interesting ideas to spice up their games. So having the decision to throw the Generation 4 remakes at Ilka rather than produce it themselves was a great idea.
You gotta help me. Please help me.
Okay.
But adding sugar, spice, and everything nice isn't the only thing Game Freak has been doing. They've been trying to push the game's lore forward by grabbing a bunch of fan-favorite characters, progressing their story, and then just slapping it onto their new games. In Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, we got to see Red and Blue on vacation, we got to see Colress doing something mischievous, and Grimsley looking like he wants to end it all. And in Legends Arceus, they took a bunch of fan-favorite characters, reverse gentrified them, and made an entire story based around them. And even in my favorite game of all time, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we got to see the Unova Gym Leader's children take up the mantle of champion. Or whatever they did. I didn't actually play the DLC. And by pushing their game's lore forward, the Pokemon world feels more alive and never feels like it's stuck in one place. Game Freak doesn't want to just look at each Pokemon game as its own separate entity, but rather a string of games that make up one single narrative. With the world constantly moving forward and the addition of new gameplay styles, Game Freak just needs to make newer games rather than look at their older titles and redo what they've already perfected. Oh no! I've summoned him! Game Freak dropped the Generation 4 remakes for the likes of working on Legends Arceus, as Legends Arceus was a much cooler way of retelling the story of Sinnoh. That's also kind of why modern day Pokemon games suck. Game Freak is trying to do a lot in a short amount of time, and they're not doing the best job. They're creating new battle systems, new catching mechanics, and creating an entire new world, only to scrap it in the next game. And if Game Freak puts a little bit more time in their development for their future installments, I think we might be close to the perfect Pokemon game soon. That's why we have to bid the Generation 4 games adieu. That was the cringiest shit I've ever said. And that's exactly why I'm excited for the future of the Pokemon franchise, because I think we're finally gonna get a great Pokemon game. I really fucking hope so. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know, finally a positive Pokemon video. Have a wonderful day. I'll see y'all next time. Bye bye!